Hello, Jon Perry here. I am visiting a friend in Kentucky. Today is, May 17th, 2025. And I just found a wild sight. This is a huge cicada exodus. I've heard about these. I've never seen one. I wasn't even trying to find this one, but here I am. I just happened across this. This is insane. Now, here's what I know about these things, these exoduses, these cicada broods. Some broods are on a 13-year cycle. They emerge every 13 years. Other broods are on a 17-year cycle. Here on the ground we see what they look like dead bodies, and actually many of them probably are, but most of them are husks of shed exoskeletons. These bugs, these cicadas, the mother will lay her eggs high up in the trees. They hatch. The babies fall to the ground. They dig down and they suck tree sap and grow very slowly. It takes them 13 years or 17 years. And then they emerge, they climb the tree, they shed their little skins, or sometimes they die trying. And by shedding this skin, this reveals a new set of wings. They then fly around, looking for a mate, and let's see if I can find a mating pair. Ha! These ones, they found love here on the tree trunk. How sweet. These ones found love on top of the shedded skins and dead bodies of their neighbors. Isn't nature just so beautiful? That's a little bit weird. I'm shocked by how many of these guys have failed to shed their skins or failed to inflate their wings properly. I wonder if this is normal. Is this a normal failure rate, or am I seeing some sort of disease or big mess up? The person that I should ask is Nancy Miorelli. She is an entomologist, and if you watch this channel a lot, you probably know that she is the one that runs our evolution tours in Ecuador. I'm going to give her a call when I get home. All right, friends, I am back home. Nancy has agreed to meet with me, but before I call her and get her on the line, I want to show you what it's supposed to look like when a cicada sheds its skin and inflates its wings successfully. This is sped up footage. This is a different species, but it is a cicada. They lean backwards and they inflate their wings as if they are balloons. That's what happens when they do it correctly. Without further ado, here is Nancy Miorelli. Nancy, most of my viewers know you, but do you want to introduce yourself anyway? Like, how do you describe yourself these days?
I am an entomologist, which means that I study bugs, and I conduct nerd tours into Ecuador.
Yes. And we are doing ours.
Day zero is December 27th.
Yeah. So the evolution tour, if you want to join me and Nancy in Ecuador, in the Amazon jungle, we're doing that. We're going to be in the rainforest partying to bring in the new year. I find that most students can actually do that if if they've got a Christmas break, a winter break, and teachers and stuff. So that's why we either do it in the summer or we do it in the winter. I was just in Kentucky, and
You were?
I was visiting a friend of mine. I did not know that there was going to be this giant cicada exodus. What do we call these things? We call it an exodus or an emergence. What is it?
Emergence.
A tornado hit 3 miles from our house, from my friend's house that I was visiting. And we just went out driving. We had chainsaws to try and help people. That's a horrible idea, by the way, because there's just traffic jams everywhere after a tornado because everybody wants to see the chaos. And so if you have just, your little chainsaw, I'm going to go help people. There's real men with real tools that are actually paid and know what they're doing, that are trying to get through and they can't because your car is blocking them. So it was a horrible idea. So we pulled off the main road just to get out of people's way. And we found this emergence happening. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Well, that's a little hyperbolic. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was really amazing. I never expected to see this.
I've actually never seen the periodical emergence either.
Really?
Despite being it is a North American phenomenon, and for the most recent ones, I have been living in Ecuador. So
Yeah,
Miss
but
Brood X.
You're from. Okay, I met you when you were living in Georgia, but you're from.
Yeah. I'm originally from Connecticut. I mean, I theoretically must have experienced one when I was a child.
Well, okay, tell us about that. Tell us what this periodical thing is all about. There's nothing periodical like this in other continents.
No?
Amazing.
Yeah. It's North America's. We get one cool bug instead of them all being in the tropics.
Yeah.
So the periodical cicadas, there's two types. There's a bunch of different species. The genus is Magicicada, which I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but whatever. You say it with confidence and it doesn't matter. But that's the genus, and there are several different species. There are the 17-year cicadas, which typically are found in the north, and then you have the 13-year cicadas, which are typically found in the south. And on a slight note about brood names, there is this entomologist, Marlott, I believe is how, I never met him. I don't know how he says his name, but good entomologist Marlott basically named 1 through 27 the 17-year cicadas, and then 28 through 30 are the 13-year cicadas. And since then, some of the broods, which he had named, have gone extinct. And so Brood X is actually just like Brood 10, and they're all just named essentially in order. So,
but there's 13-year and 17-year. Tell the folks why, what that means.
The cicada has a pretty complicated life cycle, right? So the adults will mate, the female will lay her eggs in a little twig on the branch. You can lay up to 600 eggs, but we'll do clutches of 20 at a time. The eggs go into the ground, and then depending on the species, they either spend 17 years underground or 13 years underground, hence their names. And then when they have completed their development, they crawl up to the surface, they grab onto a tree, and then the adult emerges out of the husk. So if you've seen all those little husks around, those are the shells of the nymphal cicada. And then the cicada screams and mates for 3 weeks. And then the whole cycle starts over.
Yeah, so the sound was deafening. Because it was just a tornado, we were driving, there was a bunch of power lines. We were driving under it, and we thought that they were on, but damaged, because they were obviously damaged. And we thought that the sound was some crazy sound coming from the power lines. But no, it was a million cicadas all in one little cluster of trees. And so I heard about this, obviously. I knew this happened because last year it was all over the news, right? People were talking about it a lot. It's something I've known about, but never seen it before. What shocked me, looking on the ground, I could tell that most of what was there, it looked like corpses, right? Most of it was husks, but a lot of it was not. A lot of it really was corpses. And I was shocked by how much death there was, how many failures there were. It looked like most of them failed. And then on the tree itself, there's a bunch of them that were just half molted and just frozen dead. We don't get to see the struggle for existence very often because we live in a modern medicine society, so we don't see a lot of failures with human births. Same with our pets. And then if you feed birds in your yard, it's only the healthy ones that come there. So we don't see this struggle for existence. But here it was like, it is an intense struggle for existence, and you get to see it all right now. But I'm curious if I was getting some sort of observer bias where I was seeing all the failures and all the successes were up in the trees, obviously. What is the failure rate of this final molt?
It's up to 30% in some areas. So there is a particular, 30% failure rate. So that is not nothing. That's pretty high for a failure rate. I mean, the cicada strategy is just shoot numbers. No one individual theoretically needs to make it if, all the rest of them make it. The hypothesis for why we see such a high percentage of failure, and at really high percentages of failure, we notice that there is particular problems with overcrowding. So even in the video that you are playing / have showed me, you can see adult cicadas crawling over the really vulnerable nymphs that are just coming out. And so it seems to they're mechanically damaging those cicadas that are trying to emerge. They're very, very soft during that stage, very prone to damage. So either the little cicadas that are coming out of the dirt get up and step on other ones. Okay. They get out of the dirt, they cling to some vegetation, but it's overcrowded, they don't get a good spot, or others coming up behind them step on them. Or even just like the adults that are like walking around. I saw in your video there were a couple adults that literally were just a mating pair was walking over some of these nymphs. And so all of that will
there's
just...
a mating pair mating while crawling on top of corpses of its fallen brethren.
Yeah, so all of that...
horrible... yeah.
So yeah, all of that is just like straight up mechanical damage, likely due to overcrowding. So in areas that we see a lot heavier, denser populations, we tend to see higher failure rates.
Well, yeah, I want to put this in perspective too. This is not a failure rate at birth. It's not like even humans in poor areas without modern medicine have a somewhat high death rate at birth. This is like failure during puberty. So 30% of the population dies
because they got trampled.
Yeah. So, okay, but this is true of all insects that fly. That molt, when you're getting your wings, is insanely dangerous because anytime your wings are bumped and it causes a kink, your wing's going to form wrong.
I mean, any stage of the insect molting is particularly vulnerable. Even if you haven't developed wings yet, like people who raise, for example, stick insects, the humidity has to be exactly perfect. Otherwise, if they emerge out of that old skin, they can get stuck, or they can come out and it's deformed, and they'll just die. So regardless if you are getting your wings or not, like any time that you are molting is so dangerous for you as a bug. Like, not great. Yeah.
I mean, I've described this before as they're like balloons. They're like water balloons. They're incredibly soft with their new exoskeleton. And so I would guess too that I was trying to think, there were so many with poorly deflated wings. I'm thinking that this could happen if they get bumped while they're trying to inflate their wings. I guess if the humidity is wrong, it could also happen. But also, I was thinking, what if you're soft and you get stepped on and you get poked in the abdomen and you got a hole in your abdomen, and then you're trying to squeeze liquid into your wings and it just comes out your abdomen instead. Yeah. There's so many things that I'm just... it's so dangerous.
Yeah. So dangerous. Yeah. The other, and especially with this overcrowding, that's why I was saying, if you don't get a good spot on like the vegetation, is like the cicada will come out and like bend backwards. So not only are they like pumping blood or hemolymph from the abdomen, but that all has to get pumped into the wings, and gravity helps with that. If you're not hanging right, then you don't have gravity to help you push liquid into those wings either. It's complicated. You need a good spot for your vegetation. You need to be able to like stick onto it. You can't fall off of it. You can't get bumped. You can't get eaten. Like,
so, but with like annual cicadas, I assume this is lower because they don't have to worry about their friends stepping on them, right? Mm-hmm. So I assume that the failure rate here is lower, but there are ideas about why this evolved. Why would something this costly evolve? Why would group emergence evolve? Not only is it complicated, you all have to coordinate your exit, but also it's dangerous. If you have a 30% hit to fitness, that means you must get something really good from it, right? Otherwise, it would not evolve.
When there's literally like billions of these things coming out of the ground, though, 30% of a billion is still a lot. So it doesn't it doesn't matter that much.
Yes, but we're talking about natural selection. We're talking about fitness. Fitness is relative. So the individuals that all left at once, they have less fitness, 30% less fitness. Well, yeah. Let's say that trampling causes 15%, and the other 15 is humidity. Or do we actually know the number? Do we know?
No. When I was looking it up, all I found was that overcrowding seems to be the most likely cause for the particularly high failure rates.
Okay. So, well, let's just say that maybe there's a 20% failure rate normally, and now you have a 10% because of overcrowding. That means that the mutation that makes you want to leave at the same time as your neighbors is causing a 10% hit on your fitness compared to individuals that don't leave when their neighbors leave. So that's a direct fitness cost against what your neighbors are doing, which means it must have at least a 10% benefit as well. Maybe it makes you 10% more likely to actually find a mate once you become an adult because you left at the same time as the females did if you're male, or vice versa if you're female. Maybe it's 20% less predation because all the predators are full by the time you emerge because they've been eating all your brothers and sisters. This does seem like a tricky thing to have evolved. There must be a payoff, and do we know what that payoff is?
We essentially think that it has to do with overwhelming the predator population. Cicadas aren't the only thing that does this. Mayflies in, I think it's Louisiana or Missouri that I saw this, along the Mississippi River, where mayflies will have an emergence like this as well. They'll spend about 5 years underwater, and then the mayfly adults only live maximum 72 hours, normally around 24. And there are so many mayfly carcasses that snowplows sometimes have to be used to like plow away mayfly husks. Like, so this is the overwhelming the predators is a thing that we see often. Well, not often, but it's not so unheard of. There's a bunch of groups of insects that do this. Our leading theory is that if you just overwhelm the predator population, they can't eat all of us. The idea is it really is just a numbers game. The more cicadas you have out, the more that you make, especially in this really short time period, that essentially guarantees some of you are going to mate. And when you're laying eggs 600 at a time per female, the idea is that a lot of them just wouldn't make it in any of the stages. And then you just overwhelm the predator population. So I'm very much like an and girl instead of like, oh, is it this or is it this or is it that? I usually tend to lean towards it's probably a combination of all of these things. It's probably overwhelming the predator population. It's probably giving the cicadas like a good chance to find mates. It's probably giving the cicadas better odds because there's just so many of them that even if you have failure due to overcrowding or some of you come out at the wrong time of year, there's a decent percent chance of failure that is tolerable and allows your population to continue. So I'm very much it's probably the answer.
I've seen videos of raccoons that are just, they're all excited at first and they're just stuffing their faces, and then they get so full and they're so grossed out, like they see the cicadas and they're just disgusted, like you disgusting animal, I will not eat another one of you. So I mean, this idea that it's, some people can misinterpret this too, like, oh, the species has evolved this for the better of the species. But no, it's better for the individual. It's better for the individual to be like, I'm going to go run in front of these bears when there's other people around, not when it's just me, because then maybe they'll get eaten instead of me. So it's still a selfish trait, like everyone's panicking and going at once. I've seen people looking at the math of this, the 13 and the 17. And I don't do numbers all that well.
Me neither.
But there's these math people saying that actually this is brilliant. It prevents predators from ever timing their life cycle to match up.
Yeah, that's another part of the predator theory. Yeah. Because basically if you're emerging at 13 or 17 years, what's divisible by those? 1 and 13 or 17, right? So if you have a predator, it's very unlikely that it can sync up its life cycle to match that of the cicadas in anything that like is divisible. So if you had a cicada that came out every 20 years, if you had a predator that came out every 4 or 5, then they would overlap. And then you'd have like a specific predator attacking these things And in addition, all of the general predators like the raccoons, like shoving their face full. But on the 17-year and 13-year cycle, one, like that's just hard to sync up life cycles to. And two, it's long lived for a lot of animals. Like mice don't live that long, shrews don't live that long, most insects don't live that long. That would be depredating them, or spiders or anything. So, you're just kind of out living a lot of things. So it's difficult to have a predator that emerges with a 17-year lifespan as well. And then cicadas also occupy two different niches on top of it, right? So all of your raccoons, like stuffing their face full of cicadas, are only eating the adults, which are only around for about 3 weeks. The rest of the time, they're all buried underground drinking sap from tree roots. So they've got a lot of things going for them. The length of time that they're living, the weird number of years that it takes them to develop, and the fact that they are living in two completely different environments for two completely different stages of their life.
Yeah. There was one other hypothesis I heard floating around, that they're synced up to old weather anomalies from the Ice Age, and that they're just stuck in that still.
The behavior of periodical cicadas has evolved 8 different times. So... And I did not dive deep into the taxonomy of the cicadas, but you can if you want. There are papers like noting these different divergences and re-evolution of this behavior. So to me, whenever we see convergent evolution, like even if we don't know the specific answer about why it works, obviously it's doing something if it has been converged on so many times.
One of the things that I was thinking about is, there are a lot of failures to molt, and I thought at first maybe it's because some of them just weren't mature enough, but that everyone else was leaving and they didn't want to miss out, and so they came out. I was thinking about that more. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I bet what happens is they grow and grow and grow, they get ready, and then they go into some sort of dormant state. And I don't know if we know what the case is for that.
Cicadas don't do their behavior based on when everyone else is leaving. They do their behavior when the soil temperature reaches 64 degrees Fahrenheit, or I think that was like 18 degrees Celsius. So it's a soil temperature thing, which is why, as you were mentioning in the very beginning of this, why sometimes we see quote unquote, the entomologists call it stragglers, but stragglers, I don't like that word because straggling means late. But sometimes they emerge early, and we'll still say straggler on those that emerge early. So you just have a desynchronization. And we're seeing that more in urban areas where the soil temperature either gets hot, then cold, and hot. The cicadas also count the sap flows in the tree. That's how they know how long it's been, is that when it warms up, the tree produces more sap. They count that as 1. And then in these years, especially in urban environments, the trees might have a warm spell, start producing sap, stop, produce sap again twice in 1 year, and then the cicadas will count that as 2. So you've got 2 different things going on that can overlap. So you can have some years where the cicadas count poorly because the biology of the trees is getting messed up. And then you have some years where maybe the soil temperature doesn't reach 64 degrees at the right time, and then they just emerge late because the soil temperature never got to the right temperature for them to emerge. So there's a couple things there that can be happening. But regardless, as you were mentioning kind of in the beginning, there are a bunch of broods that are emerging in different places at the same time right now.
Yeah. I don't know, what would you think? Was I seeing a 17-year brood, or was I seeing the 13-year that was late?
I think these are all 17-year cicadas. Brood 14 is what is supposedly coming out right now. And then brood 17 in Louisiana is 2 years early. We have some late bloomer brood X's in Washington, D.C. and New Jersey, and we have brood 1, which is emerging 4 years early in Virginia. There is a really great website. It's called Cicada Mania, and so you can actually see all the maps of everything of all the cicadas that are emerging. You upload your own photos and videos of the cicadas emerging as well. They create all these maps. It's a way that we can help with citizen science, right? So you can see where the broods are emerging, who's emerging early, who's emerging late. So if you want to, Cicada Mania is like a really great resource for all things cicada.
Yeah, I'll go upload stuff over there. They do videos too, or just photos?
I think they do videos as well because they run on
Okay,
iNaturalist.
cool. Yeah. The other question that I had, we have all the males are singing, trying to get mates. The females do not sing, but they do this little wing flap thing to show that they're interested if they like a guy, that's cute. But then it's like they bat their eyelashes. Like, you win, sir. What are they looking for? Will they mate with a male that has bad wings? If you have bad wings, are you just screwed? And then I'm also curious, the other way around, will a male mate with a female that has bad wings? Or is that a very strong selection pressure?
The females find a couple things attractive. One is like the chorus of song. So they all sing together because that seems to be it seems to attract everyone to the right spot, which is very convenient. And females will go to areas where there's lots of cicadas singing together. The males will take turns, so they'll sing, and then the males will fly to a branch in search of females. So if the male can't fly, he's not going to be able to like hop between these branches and be able to find a female that easily. So likely, if your wings suck, it's knocked you out of the dating pool from the beginning.
Okay.
Males find the receptive females by their wing flicks, and this seems to be, it has like a snap sound. There's a great video of David Attenborough like snapping and like tricking the male cicadas to follow his snaps. So it seems to be a combination of the sound of the wing flick and also the visual cue of the wing flick. So if the female is damaged, she might not be able to even make the sound with her wings that she needs. And that visual component that the male would want, he might not pick up on it, depending on the damage that she has to her wings. It's complicated. And then females will also, not only is like there's like the big sound, but we think that females are picking up males whose pitch they like, although we don't know what pitch they like, and the loudness of their call. And like most things, it's ands, lots of ands.
Yeah. Everything you're describing there, one of my favorite things to do here is to watch, there's squirrels right outside my office window, that in springtime, the males will chase the females, and the female is getting chased, and she'll do crazy jumps from tree to tree that are very dangerous, and he has to follow, and if he wants to mate with her, he has to be able to keep up. And you see that is sexual selection enhancing natural selection, because a squirrel that can chase a female through the trees like that is also one who can run away from predators. She's getting really good genes that she's going to mate with. She has to carry those babies. It's not easy. And she's selecting by doing this competition with the male. And what you're describing here with these bugs, it's the same thing. It's sexual selection is enhancing natural selection. If you can't build a good body, if you don't have the genes to build a good body, in spite of all the crazy fluctuations in humidity and the crowdedness and everything, well, you just don't get to play the game.
Yeah.
You're not even... Natural selection doesn't even have to do any work. Sexual selection is just pushing you out of the game before we even have to waste more deaths, right? So
and interestingly, for female cicadas, because most insects mate multiple times, but female periodical cicadas seem not to. There's a couple instances of a few here and there might mate multiple times, but pretty generally and on average, the female mates once, which is very weird for insects.
So she's getting sperm from one male and fertilizing 600 eggs with that one sperm packet.
Yep.
That's a big gamble she's putting on one guy.
Cicadas are not free from parasites. So I'm not sure if you've seen the Massophora, where like it like completely replaces the abdomen of the cicada, and then
I have footage of this too that I found here in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. And then so when they try to mate, it's like a sexually transmitted fungus. Then the female gets infected. That fungus has a really crazy life cycle because it matches. It's actually one of the few examples that it matches the emergence of the cicadas. And basically how that works is that the Massiphora has a dormant spore time. And so that's on the soil right above like where the cicadas have laid their eggs, right? Because if the Massiphora has infected a cicada already, that cicada is going to be in those trees and other cicadas are going to be laying eggs in those trees. So you've pretty much nailed the spot where you know that the cicadas are going to emerge from. And then, yeah, like the spores are in the soil, like on the top layer of the soil, dormant. And then when the cicada nymph crawls out of the dirt, that's when they become infected with the Massiphora. A really interesting example of a potential predator slash parasite that did actually manage to sync its life cycle to the cicadas.
Yeah. Okay, so we have. I guess there is one question that I don't know that I fully got. It wasn't super clear. Do we think that they actually mature and then they're ready and then they're waiting? You're saying that they count and they're waiting for the right temperature. That must mean that they're ready before they emerge and just kind of on pause or on standby.
Yeah, my understanding is that the last year they're ready. They're in their last instar, essentially.
Okay.
And then when the soil temperature reaches 64 degrees, that's when the mature nymphs emerge out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised looking at this, just how many holes there were in the ground, how many bugs there were. Those were obviously built by the sap of a tree. That's what they fed on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm reading that they don't seem to damage trees except for when they're inserting eggs in branches.
Yeah,
That's the only time.
the tree seems to just tank it off.
Sugar's that cheap for a tree to make. They don't care. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they're drinking xylem instead of phloem.
Okay.
So it's just like the water.
It's water with a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah.
What time of year do they drop to burrow into the soil? So the female will cut a slit in a little branch, put her eggs in there. Those eggs mature, little babies drop out from the branch and then burrow down to a root. What time of year does that happen? Because the soil must be really wet and soft, I would assume.
Yeah, it's about 6 to 10 weeks after the eggs are laid. The cicadas come out May to June. They live for a few weeks. They lay their eggs. The eggs take 6 to 10 weeks to emerge. So fall?
Okay.
Yeah, fall-ish. And then, the cicadas go. Makes sense. You get under there right before winter comes.
I wonder if there's a cue to drop too, because you do not want to drop on hard, dry soil.
Yeah.
You want to drop on wet soil.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're just insanely good diggers. I don't know.
They're pretty good diggers. So you might have seen on some of those nymphs that were dead or on like those husks, and you can point this out in the video too. They have these big kind of, they don't skip arm day, that's for sure. As these big kind of like round extensions full of spines on it. Thick, widened spines. Those are called what we call fossorial legs, and they are literally digging with those. So there's a lot of muscle in there, and those are big, powerful structures. Part of that is just being able to push through the earth. They vary about 6 to 18 inches underground, so 6 inches to about 1.5 feet.
Is there anything that eats them under the ground, or any wasps that find them, or?
Ooh, that is a great question. Underground, I am unsure. I assume that there must be. I'm not sure if there would be a wasp that would get under there. I would assume that a lot of the wasp parasites would be either egg parasites or like first nymphal parasites. Underground, I could see shrews or moles or something digging around underground find some. They would probably just eat them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my best guess, but we don't ever think about the cicadas underground.
Yeah, they're pretty safe under there. I would assume they're fairly safe. Last but not least, I think that we should just watch the video at the same time, because what we could do is show people what it's like on tour with Jon and Nancy. So,
all right, give me a countdown.
3, 2, 1, play. So here, look at the derpy wings. Those are failed wings, right?
Yeah, that one. You sometimes see that in butterflies too,
Yeah,
where like the wing, they just fell sometimes, or they weren't hanging upside down in the right way, and so the gravity couldn't pull them up. Yep. But all them, look at them lay struggle.
They're almost all. I mean, I think these are all failures because there's a party obviously happening.
That one right there that you're showing, that one might still be pumping up its wings. That one might be fine.
Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. But you see when you touched it, how its wing bent? Like, it was still pretty soft. Like, you fucked that one up.
Sorry, man.
Sorry, man.
Oh, man, now I feel bad.
He's fine.
He was at his most vulnerable when I poked him.
Yeah. So if you see a molting insect, please don't touch it. They're so delicate.
Okay, new rule for the tour, everybody.
New rule for the tour, yeah. And we'll hopefully see a lot of molting insects because nighttime is usually when they're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that guy down there, like, that you're just on right now, like, it looks like he's still pumping up his wings. I don't know, it's, like, hard to tell. Because when they're just standing still, I don't know if they're, like, I don't know how long they've been there.
Right.
But there's some, too. They're ensuring their fitness.
Yep, they are mating. Successful mate. And then this guy, that's a failure.
No. Oh, yep, that one, yeah. And you see how, like, dark orange those wings are? It's not light at all. Like,
yeah.
He derped real hard. It's important to note that cicadas don't make their sound with their wings, except for the females that, like, snap. But the males have an organ called a timbal, and the timbal is, like, this little membrane that vibrates. Like, you know, you get, like, Snapple tops, like a Snapple iced tea, and, like, the top, you can go with the top. Like, that's basically how their timbals work. It's just a bunch of those, and then go.
Yeah, I was actually planning to do an animation on that at one point, but I started it and never finished it.
It's pretty complicated structure.
Very interesting how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got illustrations somewhere.
Great. Oh yeah, look at those. So derped. So derped.
That's a failure.
Yeah, that's a failure. So they might make it up to the tree, but again, to find the female, they'd have to, like, fly to another branch, and so by time he managed to, like, walk all the way over there, she's probably mated with someone else.
Yeah. These are the ones up in the trees that have made it.
Yep. Once they're adults, we don't believe they feed. Well, for the longest time we believed that they didn't feed. A recent study came out that shows that they do as adults, but, like, not very much.
Yeah.
It's rare.
On some of these, on, like, a couple of the ones where you can just see the husk after the cicada has emerged, you can see some of these, like, little white tubes, and that's actually the tracheal system that has also.
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of
they shed their entire tracheal system.
So when I was a little kid, I went underneath the bridge behind my house, and I found a bunch of exoskeletons like this. It wasn't cicadas; it was something else. Something that maybe it was dragonflies. But I thought that some monster had slit their backs and eaten them.
That makes sense.
Thing. That's just where they hatch out of their previous shell, which this guy failed.
Oh yeah, that guy didn't even come out right.
Half of his face is stuck in there.
Sad day.
Yeah, that was the most brutal one.
Yeah, and so they will either be depredated or, like, die of starvation. Yeah, that one has ants on it, so the ants will probably just eat that one.
I think it's already dead. I mean, it's so black. Did they come out black? Or does that the black?
No, they come out like a softer color. It's because the black is caused by a process called sclerotization. Yeah. And melanin is what makes the hard exoskeleton. So chitin, what insects are made out of, is actually very soft. As you noticed when you poked the one that you shouldn't have poked, and it, like, the wing bent a little bit, like, chitin is very smooth and very, very soft. So caterpillars, for example, are just chitin, and that's why they're kind of like water balloony and like very flexible. To strengthen the exoskeleton, you add a chemical called sclerotin, and the process of sclerotization works by fusing melanin with sclerotin, and so that darkens the insect. So as the exoskeleton is hardening, those cross-linked chains are forming, and melanin is used in that, and so they'll go from a really light white color all the way to, you know, this guy black.
Yeah. So black is a sign of it. Well, I mean, you could have pigment only too, but typically it's a sign that thing is strong.
Yeah. And adulty, like fully hardened, fully matured.
Yeah. Ready
to take on the world. So that one that got stuck halfway, like he just got stuck halfway, then the exoskeleton hardened, and he probably was just frozen inside his husk, which is
so his
sad.
soul was just trapped. And he had to starve to death, slowly.
Yeah.
Fun.
Or eaten by ants. Or eaten by a bird, or literally whatever.
Okay, here we've got some love on the ground.
We do.
That's a dead one. And so, okay, first of all, I don't know if it's the male or the female doing the walking here, but the other one's just getting drug along the ground. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Just those wings. This is just, it's...
I mean, it's really great. You can see how flexible those wings are, right? Like, so many people are afraid to touch insect wings, but insect wings have to support flight, so they're pretty hardy, actually.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as you can see, like, our wings were just out, and he was, like, just dragged along.
But here we have death and lovemaking, and those are, a lot of those are successful husks. So they're, it's like, yeah, you're just crawling on body parts from your neighbors while making love. It's a very vivid.
Oh yeah, see that guy.
Reverse.
That guy got struggling.
Nature. But why? It's unusual they'd be on the ground, no? Because they just falling out of the tree.
I mean, this might be a failed mating in the end, because if she doesn't fly back up to a tree and like lay her eggs up there and just like gets confused, then it won't go anywhere. But maybe when all this is over, she'll figure it out and fly where she's supposed to be.
Well, that's it. We're now watching a rerun here, but yeah. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you get on the evolution tour. Nancy and Jon look at bugs. And
or whatever else, like
whatever else.
Like literally, we have stopped and talked about bromeliads, fungus, dolphins.
Yes, river dolphins. We do see river dolphins, and every time I've been there, we've seen lots of river dolphins. So that's like almost guaranteed. We will likely see cicadas as well. Like we don't have periodical cicadas, but we do have annual cicadas. And really
one of the trips I was on, I was so excited because I actually saw a nymph crawling out of the ground. And when you aren't in an area with periodical cicadas, it's pretty exciting and pretty rare. And we actually got to watch it like climb up, and then everyone else went to bed, but I redid the trail. And then by the time I had gotten back, it had like split out the back and was like falling backwards to start to open up its wings.
Oh, that's so cool.
I was very excited.
What was the species we found, like the sapsucker, that was like really cool colors? It was on the other side of the river.
Yeah, those are fulgurids, so those are plant hoppers. They're related to cicadas. They're in a different subfamily or different sub. Yeah, well, it's like the taxonomy keeps changing, but
technically,
when I learned it was a subfamily, but it might be one higher now, but closely related in the same suborder.
Yeah. I was saying technically everyone is related to cicadas, but
technically, yeah,
very close. close cousins.
Very, cousins, like actually cousins of cicadas.
Yeah. What else do we see? We see monkeys. We see like multiple species from
lots of birds.
Red monkeys.
Puyo Beno has 500 bird species, so if you like burbs.
Yeah, and I mean, the craziest thing for me was seeing the parrots flying, the macaws, blue and gold macaws. Again, almost guaranteed to see multiple
Yeah.
blue and gold macaw couples, and then sometimes there's what's the red one called? It's a
The
scarlet
scarlet
macaw.
macaw. And then we
And they,
also, if we're lucky and we can get to one of the clay lakes and it's not underwater, we have a good chance of seeing the orange-cheeked parrot as well. I recently had to go to the Amazon and learn all my birds. Like, normally I'm like, I'll leave it to the guide to learn the birds.
yeah,
But I recently had to be the Amazon guide that knew the birds. So now I can answer a lot more bird questions.
yeah.
But yeah, orange-cheeked parrot, we have a good chance of seeing. The cobalt-winged parakeet, we also have a very good chance of seeing. Yeah.
And we're gonna have Diego with us. Most
Yes.
is he he's still doing them? Yeah, okay. And
Mm-hmm.
Diego, he will see a scratch in the dirt, and he knows what animal made it and what was happening. He's amazing. Like he's out there all
Yeah.
the time. He just spots everything everywhere. Uh, he is really really cool. I mean, this it's just a week in the jungle of having your mind blown and looking at crazy animals with people who are nerdy about this stuff like you
Yeah,
are.
like if you're like, "Oh, I love things too much and the only correct amount of information is too much information," then this is the tour for you.
Yes, yes. And if you don't mind cold showers, because the showers are not that warm.
The showers are when you guys came let down last time in July though. The showers are
Yeah.
colder in July because it's solar powered showers, and in July is the rainy season, so there is not much solar power to power the. So December you have a better shot of having hot water.
Well, I mean, they weren't freezing. It was just
No,
like, it wasn't the scorching hot showers that I'm used to at home.
it's true.
But yeah, you can't have everything. But we do have electricity, and we have like emergency internet out there.
The internet is not super fast. Like you're not going to be FaceTiming your friends. You're not going to be downloading Disney Plus on it. Like you can send text messages to let people that you love know that you are still alive and having fun.
Yeah, but honestly, you don't want to look at the internet when you're in the Amazon
No.
jungle. It's there's way cooler stuff outside.
There's way cooler stuff out there, yeah.
So we do have electricity there. So if you have like a little storage device that you want to download from your phone too, so you can keep recording more. If you have a camera, photo equipment, and stuff like that, we can charge things. We've got the power's on like half the time. So
Yeah.
there's a generator, so we turn it on in the evenings so people they can recharge their things and have light when it gets dark. And then and when they're cooking meals, the power is on. So you're set up. It's good out there, and we have a doctor with us.
We
who
do.
comes with us on the tour,
Yeah.
so that any emergencies are handled. Because we're very far away from. It's like I guess like a 3-hour boat ride to the hospital if you need it. So we just bring our doctor.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nancy, thank you.
Yeah.
This was really
Thank
cool.
you.
And what a weird surprise to just find this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun that you just like stumbled upon it and didn't know that it was happening.
Yeah.
This one didn't hit as big news, I think. Like Brood 10 when that happened a couple of years ago was like all over the news. You couldn't escape it. But I think it was just because it was so big and affecting so many areas
Yeah.
that it hit the news. But yeah, every few years, Wikipedia actually has like a chart of when all of the broods are likely to emerge and where they are going to be emerging.
Anything else? Anything else that we need to say about the tour? Anything else that you need to say about your world? What's going on? What's new over there?
Nothing's really new over here. Everything is stable for now. It's more stable than the U.S., it seems.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in Canada, so it's business as usual up here, except for everyone watches the news too much now.
Yeah, everyone watches the news too much here as well.
Yeah, there are white trash Greek gods are fighting right now. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are
I saw
starting a war.
the little bromances disintegrating before our very eyes. Oh, this was cool. Okay, so I had a client who came like a couple of years ago. She comes every year, but this particular year, we were in Bella Vista, and it downpoured every single day. And she's a photographer, so that was not great for her. So my job was to run outside, find whatever bug I possibly could, and bring it to the like in-house little studio that we had made together. Well, this year, two of the photos that she has are of a mirror spider. They're really small but very beautiful spiders that look like little disco balls. And it was actually a new species. So her photos actually like circulated in the Ecuadorian newspapers because, yeah, it was her photo was used as like the media piece describing this new species of spider. So I found it. Jen took the picture of it, and then it was used as like the publication media. So
The holotype.
I don't think that photo was, because the holotype has to be an actual specimen. But yes, it is the image that is circulating for this newly described species.
That's so cool. That's so neat.
Yeah, and she just got a message from another scientist on another one of her photos from Wongo, which we're going to be going to, of a newly described tree hopper. So,
Dang.
yeah. People ask me all the time, like, have I described a new species? But I'm not an expert in any one particular group. I am a generalist. So if I see something new, I don't know, because I can be like, oh, it's this family or it's like this group. My answer always is, I'm sure I've seen tons of new species out here, but I just didn't know. And now I have at least 2 examples of evidence that I was indeed correct in that in that assessment.
You do personal tours as well.
I do.
You might as well just plug your stuff.
I might as well just plug my stuff. Yeah, the part that I'm bad at. Yes, I also do personalized tours. I do group tours like I do with Jon. Also running this year, I have a couple nature journaling tours. So if you're interested in drawing ever in the tropics, you can check out that. Otherwise, if you just want to come with me and we can putter around, then I also do personalized tours. So you can find that on my website. That definitely needs updating, but we're working on it. Cybugs.info, and just shoot me an email. We'll make it happen.
Cybugs.info. So cool. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.